My name is Ethan, and I used to believe in perfect moments. The kind you see in romantic movies, where love conquers all and the good guy wins in the end. Well, real life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes, the people you trust most, they shatter you in ways you never saw coming. I met Jenna during my senior year in college. She was smart, funny, beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads when she walked into a room but never acted like she knew it. We dated for 3 years before I proposed during a weekend getaway to Lake Tahoe. She cried. I cried. It was perfect. Fast forward 6 years and here we were, planning to celebrate our 4th wedding anniversary. I had spent weeks organizing a surprise dinner at the same cabin where I proposed. I even took a few days off work, told Jenna I had to be out of town for business, and secretly prepared everything for a magical evening. I wanted it to be special. I picked up her favorite wine, ordered the same kind of flowers I gave her on our first date, white lilies, and even made a playlist of songs that meant something to us. Every detail mattered. Now, I need to tell you about my brother, Ryan. He's 2 years younger than me, always the charming one, the kind of guy who never had to try hard at anything. Growing up, he was my best friend. We shared everything from baseball cards to broken hearts, so when he moved back into town recently, I welcomed him with open arms. What I didn't know was that I was inviting a fox into the henhouse. Jenna and Ryan got along well, maybe too well, but I chalked it up to them just being friendly. I trusted both of them. I mean, they were family. The day of our anniversary, I told Jenna I'd be gone until the evening. She seemed a little distracted on the phone but didn't ask too many questions. I took it as a good sign. She wouldn't suspect the surprise. At 6 p.m., I parked a few blocks from the house. I wanted to sneak in through the back door and surprise her. I was grinning like a fool, holding flowers in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. But when I stepped inside, everything changed. I stepped into the house, my heart racing in anticipation. The air smelled like her vanilla-scented candles, the same ones she lit when she wanted to create a romantic atmosphere. I smiled, thinking maybe she had guessed the surprise and was preparing one of her own. The living room was quiet. A half-empty glass of wine sat on the coffee table. I didn't hear the TV, no music, just silence. "Jenna?" I called out softly, my voice barely above a whisper. No answer. I tiptoed further inside, wanting to surprise her. Maybe she was in the kitchen. But the kitchen was empty too. I set down the flowers and the wine on the counter and walked toward the hallway. Then I heard it, a sound that stopped me in my tracks. A laugh. Not just any laugh, Jenna's laugh. The soft, flirty one she used when she was completely at ease. And it wasn't alone. A man's voice followed. Familiar. Too familiar. Ryan. My stomach dropped. I moved quietly toward the bedroom, praying I was wrong, that this wasn't what it sounded like. But every step closer chipped away at that hope. I reached the doorway and froze. The door wasn't fully closed. And through the small gap, I saw the truth. There they were, Jenna and my brother, tangled in the sheets, completely oblivious to the destruction they were causing. She was smiling, her hand on his chest. He was kissing her neck. My heart didn't just break, it exploded. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I must have made a noise because Jenna suddenly sat up, her eyes meeting mine in the mirror on the dresser. She screamed. Ryan turned, his face draining of color. "Ethan!" I didn't wait to hear whatever pathetic excuse they were going to spit out. I turned and walked away. My legs moved on autopilot. Out of the room, down the hall, out the front door. I didn't even grab the flowers or the wine. I got in my car, slammed the door shut, and just sat there, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My vision blurred with tears and my chest felt like it was caving in. How could they? How could the two people I trusted most betray me like this? My mind raced with memories. The family dinners where Ryan and Jenna sat too close, the way she'd light up when he entered a room, the times Ryan just dropped by while I was at work. All the little things I had ignored, brushed off as paranoia, now screamed the truth I had refused to see. I drove. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to move, to breathe. I ended up at a small diner on the edge of town, the kind of place with greasy food, worn booths and coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since 1982. But it was quiet, safe. I sat there for hours, replaying everything. The years Jenna and I had spent together. The vows we had exchanged. The promises made. All lies. Eventually, my phone buzzed. Jenna, then Ryan, then Jenna again. I turned it off. They didn't deserve to speak to me. Not now, maybe not ever. By midnight, I had made up my mind. I drove back home, walked past the kitchen where the flowers still sat untouched, and headed straight to the bedroom. They were gone. Thank God. I packed a duffel bag with some clothes, my laptop, and a few essentials. I wasn't going to stay under that roof another minute. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand. A silent goodbye. Before I left, I paused in the hallway, looking at the framed photos lining the wall. Our wedding day, a beach trip, Christmas with Ryan and my family. I yanked one down, then another. Each crash of glass against the floor felt like therapy, like taking back control. I didn't take everything, just enough. Enough to survive the storm I knew was coming. Because if Jenna and Ryan thought I would just disappear quietly, they didn't know me at all. The next morning, I woke up on my buddy Mark's couch. He had offered his place as soon as I called the night before, barely getting the words out between sobs and disbelief. "You sure you don't want to throw hands?" he had asked, half joking, half serious. That's the kind of friend Mark was, always ready to ride at a moment's notice. But I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted answers. After a couple of cups of bad coffee and a long silent shower, I drove back to the house, not to fight, but to face them. When I walked in, the air was thick with tension. Jenna was there, sitting on the edge of the couch like a scolded child. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, eyes swollen from crying. She looked like a different person from the one I saw giggling in bed with my brother less than 24 hours ago. "Ethan," she started, her voice cracking. "Don't," I cut in, holding up my hand. "I'm not here for apologies. I want the truth. All of it." She looked down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. "It didn't start the way you think." "How long?" I asked coldly. She hesitated. "How? Long?" "6 months," she whispered. My heart twisted. Half a year. That was 6 months of family dinners, birthday parties, Sunday brunches. 6 months of lies. "Why him?" I asked. "Out of all the people. Why my brother?" Jenna stared at the floor. "I don't know," she said. "It just happened. At first, it was harmless. Conversations, drinks. He listened to me when you were always working." "I was working to build us a future," I snapped. "I was working because you said you wanted to buy a house next year. I was working for us, Jenna." Tears rolled down her cheeks, but I didn't care. Not anymore. "And Ryan?" I asked. "Where is he?" "He left early this morning. He didn't want to face you." "Coward?" There was a long silence between us. Then I said what I came to say. "I'm filing for divorce." Her head jerked up. "Ethan, please." "No, you made your choice. Now I'm making mine." I walked to our bedroom. No, her bedroom now, and grabbed the last of my things. My college diploma. A few framed photos. The guitar she bought me for our second anniversary, which now felt like a cruel joke. Before I left, I looked at her one last time. "You didn't just ruin our marriage," I said. "You broke our family." Then I walked out and never looked back. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Later that day, I went to my parents' house. I hadn't told them yet. I didn't want to believe it either. But they needed to hear the truth. Mom opened the door, beaming. "Ethan, happy anniversary. Wait, where's Jenna?" I stepped inside, my face stone cold. "We need to talk." Dad was in the living room, reading the paper. He looked up. "Something wrong?" I sat down across from them, my voice low and steady. "Jenna's been cheating on me." My mom gasped. My dad frowned. "With who?" he asked. I hesitated. "With Ryan." The silence that followed was deafening. Mom dropped into the nearest chair, eyes wide. "Ryan? Your brother Ryan?" Dad stood, angry. "That's not funny, Ethan." "I'm not joking," I said. "I caught them, in bed, on our anniversary." Mom covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Dad turned away, pacing. "How could he do this?" Dad muttered. "His own brother." I could see the shame, the disappointment in their faces. They loved both of us, but Ryan was the golden boy, the charming one, the one who could do no wrong, until now. That evening, Dad called Ryan. I wasn't in the room for it, but I heard shouting through the walls. Something about betrayal, about family, about being dead to him. Ryan didn't fight back apparently, just hung up. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The fallout from my revelation was swift and brutal. Word spread through our small town faster than wildfire. Within days, friends, neighbors, even colleagues were whispering behind cupped hands, their sympathy half genuine, half gossip-fueled curiosity. Jenna moved back in with her parents while Ryan, well, no one really knew where Ryan went. He disappeared the same way he always had whenever responsibility came knocking. Only this time, he left scorched earth behind him. My parents were heartbroken. My mom couldn't even bring herself to say his name for weeks. My dad, the man who once believed Ryan could do no wrong, refused to acknowledge him at all. I'd never seen them so shaken, so disappointed. And then came the real kicker. One afternoon, while I was at my office trying to piece together what my future would look like post-divorce, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail at first, not in the mood to talk to anyone, but something about it gnawed at me. I opened the message, and when I heard the voice, my blood went cold. It was Ryan. "Hey, Ethan, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you, face to face. Please." I deleted the message, but he didn't stop. He sent emails, texts, even a handwritten letter to my apartment. It was full of weak apologies and half-hearted excuses. "We never meant to hurt you. It was a mistake. I still love you, man." He had no idea what love meant. At first I tried to ignore it. But then, one night, Mark and I were out at a local bar, just trying to unwind after another long, draining week. We were halfway through a round of beers when Ryan walked in. The room went quiet for a moment. People stared. Conversations stalled. Ryan scanned the bar, spotted me, and actually had the nerve to walk over. "Ethan, man, can we talk?" Mark stood up, squaring his shoulders. "You need to walk away, now." But I stood too. I looked Ryan dead in the eyes. "You want to talk?" I said. "Talk?" His face lit up with some twisted hope, like he thought this was the start of forgiveness. I miss you, bro. I messed up. I know that. Jenna and it wasn't supposed to happen. But we were both in a bad place. She said you were always working. She said you'd grown distant." I cut him off. "Stop. Don't you dare try to blame her, or me. You made a choice, Ryan. You could have walked away. You could have come to me. But you didn't. You slept with my wife, on our anniversary." He looked like he wanted to argue but knew better. "I'm done with you," I continued. "You're not my brother. You're just a guy I used to know." Mark stepped closer. "You heard him. Get lost." Ryan hesitated, eyes darting around the room as more people watched the scene unfold. Then he turned and left. I thought that would be the end of it. But it never is it? A week later, Jenna showed up at my apartment. I opened the door, half expecting a delivery, and there she was, red eyes, makeup smeared, holding a photo album. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she said quietly. "I've been doing therapy. I've been trying to understand why I sabotaged everything." I didn't say anything. She opened the album, flipping through pictures of us, our first vacation, our old apartment, our wedding day. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she continued, "but I want you to know, I still love you." I let her words hang in the air for a few seconds. "You love the version of me who let things slide, who worked long hours to give us a life you didn't value. You don't love me. You loved convenience." Her face crumpled and she nodded. "I know." She left the album and walked away. That night, I sat with a bottle of whiskey and stared at the photos. So many moments that had once meant everything, now felt like lies. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. But something shifted inside me. I was done being the victim. I called my lawyer and told her to fast-track the divorce. I sold the apartment, the one filled with ghosts of a life that had died months ago. I moved into a new place across town, smaller but mine. I went back to the gym, started seeing a therapist, focused on work, started mentoring a group of young interns who reminded me why I started this career in the first place. Slowly, the pieces started to come back together. And one day, I woke up and realized I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Jenna, not even at Ryan. I wasn't waiting for karma to find them. I had already found peace. A few months had passed since Jenna's last visit. Life had settled into a new rhythm for me, quiet but steady. My apartment, though smaller, was bright, open, and free from old memories. Every picture on the wall was mine, every book on the shelf chosen with intention. For the first time in years, my space actually felt like home. Then, one Saturday afternoon, I ran into Jenna's best friend Ashley at a local coffee shop. We hadn't seen each other since the split. She walked up slowly, holding a paper cup with both hands like it was the only thing keeping her steady. "Ethan," she said carefully, "can we talk?" I nodded, not really knowing what to expect. She sat down across from me and exhaled hard. "I'm not here to pick sides, okay? But you deserve to know what's been happening." Turns out, things between Jenna and Ryan weren't going as perfectly as they'd expected. Just 2 months into their new relationship, cracks had already started to form. Ryan had lost his job after missing too many shifts and showing up hungover. Jenna, now burdened with rent and bills for the apartment they moved into together, was struggling to keep everything afloat. "Ryan's drinking more," Ashley said quietly. "And Jenna, she's not herself. She cries all the time. She's realizing the fantasy she left you for isn't real." I didn't say anything for a moment, just stirred my coffee. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't even surprised. I was just sad. Sad for what we'd all lost in different ways. Ashley leaned in. She said something the other day that stuck with me. She said, "Ethan might have been boring sometimes, but I never had to question if he loved me. With Ryan, I don't even feel safe." That hit harder than I expected. Later that night, I found myself thinking about it again, about how Jenna had traded stability and loyalty for something shiny and impulsive, about how Ryan had always lived for instant gratification, and now that the novelty had worn off, he was back to being the same self-serving guy he'd always been. A week later, I got a call from my mother. "Ryan's been arrested," she said without preamble. "What?" I asked, stunned. "He got into a bar fight. Bad one. Jenna had to bail him out. Your father and we're not helping him anymore." I didn't know what to say. A strange mix of emotions welled up inside me. Pity, relief, even guilt. But mostly I felt distance, like I was hearing about the life of someone I used to know, not my own brother. That's when I realized something important. Karma wasn't some dramatic, explosive event. It didn't always come crashing down like in the movies. Sometimes it was subtle, quiet, slow-moving but deeply felt. It was the slow unraveling of lies, the decay of false promises, the erosion of the fantasy world Jenna and Ryan thought they could build on betrayal. And I had nothing to do with it. I didn't need to interfere. I didn't need revenge. Life was taking care of it on its own. Meanwhile, things were finally starting to bloom in my world. One of the interns I'd been mentoring, a sharp and enthusiastic young woman named Claire, introduced me to her older sister Madison during a networking event. Madison was kind, quick-witted, and worked in nonprofit development. We hit it off immediately. No pressure, no drama, just easy conversation and shared values. After a few coffee dates, I found myself looking forward to her messages, her laughter, the way she actually listened when I talked. She didn't try to fix me. She didn't pity me. She just saw me for who I was, and that was enough. One night over dinner, I told her everything, the whole messy story. She didn't flinch. She just reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and said, "Well, it's a good thing you're not stuck there anymore." That moment hit me harder than I expected, because she was right. I wasn't stuck anymore. Ryan and Jenna had made their choices, and I had made mine, and mine were finally starting to lead me somewhere good. It had been almost a year since my life imploded in the most painful way imaginable. Anniversaries hit differently now, not with sorrow or bitterness, but with a kind of quiet reflection. I wasn't mourning anymore. I wasn't even angry. I had come through the fire and somehow emerged stronger. Madison had a lot to do with that. We didn't rush things. There were no grand declarations or whirlwind romance, just steady, honest connection. She knew about my past, and she never made me feel ashamed of it. She didn't flinch when I talked about the betrayal or the days I could barely get out of bed. She didn't try to fix me. She simply showed up, over and over again. One evening, as we sat on my tiny balcony watching the sun dip below the rooftops, she turned to me and said, "You know, I don't think people break you. I think they show you where the cracks are so you can finally patch them." That stuck with me, and it made me realize something. My life had been full of cracks long before Jenna and Ryan blew it apart. I had spent years trying to be the dependable one, the fixer, the one who held everything together for everyone else. But in doing so, I'd ignored my own needs. I let my family dismiss my accomplishments. I let a one-sided marriage become the norm. I accepted less because I didn't think I deserved more. Not anymore. In the months that followed, my relationship with my parents shifted. Not dramatically, but enough. My dad finally sat me down and said, "I don't know how we missed it, son. We were always so focused on Ryan, his potential, his charm. We didn't realize you were the one holding everything together." He didn't say sorry outright, but that was close enough. As for Ryan, I heard he checked into a rehab facility out west. Jenna had moved out, finally tired of the chaos. Ashley said she was living with her aunt now, trying to rebuild her life too. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to. I had written my final chapter with them. I'd also made the difficult decision to sell the last piece of property Jenna and I had bought together. A little cabin we used to dream of turning into a weekend getaway. Instead of holding on to it for nostalgia or pride, I sold it and donated a portion of the money to a local program that supported kids going through parental separation. Full circle, I guess. Then came the biggest turning point. One morning, I woke up to find an email in my inbox from a publisher. Turns out one of my interns had submitted a short essay I wrote about resilience to a small online journal. It had gotten some attention. "We'd love to speak with you about expanding this into a full-length memoir," the editor wrote. I stared at the screen, blinking. Me? A book? I forwarded the email to Madison, and within minutes she replied, "I told you, your story matters." It took a while, but I eventually agreed. Not for fame or revenge or even closure, but for someone out there who might be going through the same hell I did, who needed to know that even after the worst betrayal, you can rebuild. You can thrive. Writing that book was like walking through the wreckage of my old life with a flashlight. Painful, yes, but also incredibly healing. When it finally published, I dedicated it to two people: to the man I used to be, thank you for surviving, and to the woman who reminded me that survival isn't the same as living. The book resonated more than I expected. I started getting messages from people all over the country. Stories of betrayal, heartbreak, healing, growth. It made me realize just how many of us are walking around with invisible scars. A few months later, on a warm spring day, I stood at a podium in a community center gymnasium giving a talk about healing after betrayal. Madison was in the front row, smiling softly, her eyes locked on mine. I took a breath and looked out over the crowd. "You're not defined by who hurt you," I said. "You're defined by how you choose to live after." And I meant every word. On the second anniversary of the day, everything fell apart. I didn't sit alone in a dark room. I didn't drink or rage or cry. Instead, I walked hand in hand with Madison through a park in Denver. We watched families play, the scent of food trucks in the air, and laughter echoing through the trees. She turned to me and asked, "Do you regret any of it?" I paused, then shook my head. "No," I said, "because it led me here. And here, this new life, this sense of peace, this love I never thought I'd find again. It was worth everything it took to get here."